Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So this video is gonna be the Embla summoning guide. What are you gonna do? I have no idea. But this video isn't actually for you guys. It's for me, because I don't know if I'm gonna summon for Embla or not yet. So, without further ado, after tons of research and after tons of watching Daddy Free to Play, I think I have an idea of whether or not I, and you, maybe, should summon for Embla. So, let's get into her. Alright guys, post-editing graphic here, and this video took way too long. I'm gonna keep the whole thing because I think there's like a ton of explanations, but there are gonna be timestamps down below, so please skip to the parts where you think are important or not important. There's a lot to cover in this video, honestly, because I wanted to make the most informed decision, so I'm sorry if I talk too long, but yeah, please use the description down below and skip to the timestamps, or I mean in the comment section. I'm gonna pin a comment there or something, so yeah, please enjoy. I'm gonna break this video down into basically two, maybe three things. The first is gonna be about her skills. There are lots of nuances to her skills. Her skills are very complicated. There's lots of different interactions and different things to understand. So I'm gonna explain the skills as best as I can, as best as I possibly can, so that you and me will be able to understand and weigh that, because her skills are pretty weird. Like, they're good, but they're pretty weird, and you have to understand that. Second is the different content. There are lots of different content where she can play in, where she can excel, which she might be good in, which she might suck in. So I'll be analyzing all of that and saying, hey, she's good here, she's not that good here, she's great there, and hopefully you'll be able to see where she's good at and how you will be using her. And lastly, I'll probably go through a recap of her pros and cons. So let's get into it. I'm gonna remove my glasses because it's glaring in the thing. But, alright, let's look at Embla. Now this is my PTR account, so I don't actually have her, but the PTR account's basically the same. And we're gonna talk about a few things when it comes to Embla. The first thing that we have to talk about, obviously, is her Corrupted Seed. Now, her Corrupted Seed is it's a lot of text. But I'm gonna break down first what the Corrupted Seed can do for the rest of the team. So, firstly, the Corrupted Seed, when someone has it and your team attacks into it, they have a 50% chance, and this is affected to all of your teammates, right? All of your teammates attacking the carrier of the Corrupted Seed will have a 50% chance of inflicting disease and dispels one debuff. Now, the good thing about the dispel on the debuff is that it actually works really well on Apep, and it will work on existing debuffs as well. So for Apep, when you attack, you will gain poison stacks, but this will automatically remove one of those stacks, which is really good, and that's something to be considered in. Another universal thing about the Corrupted Seed is that here at the bottom, no matter how this debuff disappears, whether it's removed from attacking it and getting the 8 stacks, or it's cleansed, or it's whatever, all the different ways of it being removed, no matter what happens, Embla will gain 30% AP. So that's really good because obviously Embla will cycle her turns better, but that AP gain will always be there, and so it's really nice in order to have them there. Now, how do stacks happen? Well, the stacks will happen from primarily her S1 and S3, and from auto detonation, which we'll talk about later. But the stacks are gained. Once you have a stack, you can add more stacks by attacking into it. So if an enemy has 1 stack, and let's say your Liling will just attack once into it, that Esper will now have 2 stacks. Pretty simple. But this will also get added if another Corrupted Seed is added onto it. So if a person has 1 Corrupted Seed stack and they add another Corrupted Seed stack into it, it'll just gain 2. It's pretty simple, but it might let you know what are the different interactions later on. The Corrupted Seed stacks will be gained from either attacking into it or gaining another Corrupted Seed stack. With that said, what is the difference between detonation and auto detonation? There's a lot of text here, and it's all about the auto detonation and the detonation. So basically, the similarity is that no matter which detonation happens, there will be a 35% damage of the original caster's attack, which is Embla's attack, and it will attempt to inflict 2 bleed stacks. So if it detonates at 2 stacks, then it will be 70% damage, which is 2 times 35, and then it will inflict the bleed. Now, this ability is affected by buffs, debuffs, by misses, and all the like. This is not true damage. So if Embla has an attack up buff, she will deal more damage. If the enemy has a defense down defense down debuff, they will take more damage. If the enemy has defense up, they will take less damage, and so on and so forth. And this is also affected by misses, so you have a chance of dealing less damage if you miss against a flow type Esper. And this can crit, so you'd like to build her with crit rate and all that stuff and all that jazz. This is not true damage, so don't expect it to deal a ton of damage if you're hitting into it with a defense up and it's a flow type Esper. You have to take all these into account. The bleeds are also the same thing. The bleeds have a chance of missing. They act as like an accuracy check, so you might want to build it with accuracy. You might want to make sure that your opponent's not a flow type Esper, all that stuff. This to say that a lot of her kit is based upon typing, and you have to take that into account when you're using Embla to fight other Espers. So, what is the difference between auto detonation and detonation? The detonation is just the basic thing that we've talked about a while ago, the 35% damage per stack and the bleed. This will happen no matter what happens, if it's detonation or auto detonation. But what happens specifically when there is auto detonation, and auto detonation happens when either you kill someone with the seed or it gains max 8 stacks. So if you kill them or if you get max 8 stacks by attacking into it, auto detonation will happen, which will deal the full 35 times 8, and then it will also infect other allies. So other allies, it will infect other enemies. So two different enemies will gain corrupted seed. Now if they already had corrupted seed, they will just increase the stack by 1. So that's the difference. So now that we know what the corrupted seed works, how it functions basically, now we can take a look at her skills. So in her S1, this is just a normal attack, and then if they don't have corrupted seed, it will infect corrupted seed, and then if they do have corrupted seed, it will work and attack someone else. Now, I will just note something, that this doesn't work with Astral Witchcraft. I mean, it does work, but if you use your S1 and then pursuit someone else, and then you try to Astral Witchcraft, and it will not pursuit again, because the Tattered Sword pursuit only triggers once per turn. So that's something to note, because I was really excited for Astral Witchcraft to work on her. Next thing is her S2. Now her S2 will attack twice, steal 1 buff, and then the second hit detonates the enemy's corrupted seed and infects another enemy with corrupted seed. So it will detonate the one it attacked and then infect someone else. Now, a lot of confusion happened with this S2 because people thought that because it detonates the corrupted seed, that the corrupted seed will disappear. But that is not the case. And I think that this is just some weird English wording, so don't mind it. But basically, it detonates, dealing the damage and dealing the bleed, or possibly dealing the bleed because of the miss. But it doesn't remove the current corrupted seed stack. So the S2 will just deal the damage, but it will not remove. It will actually still gain corrupted seed stacks because you attack twice, but it will not currently remove the detonated seed. So that's something to take account for when you're using the S2. This is a bit confusing, but just bear with me. You don't remove the S2. You don't remove the corrupted seed. That's pretty much it. And lastly, her S3 attacks attacks one enemy twice, and then it deals defense down and inflicts corrupted seed. So this is just basic defense down and corrupted seed. Now, when it comes to all of her skills, something that you need to take note of, which is really important, is the fact that if you kill during the skill, it's actually bad, because a lot of the after effects of the corrupted seed or placing the corrupted seed will happen during the skill. So if you kill them during the skill, the corrupted seed will only happen after. So if you kill them during the skill, you won't get the corrupted seed and you will not get the auto detonation, which is kind of a shame. So if you kill with the S3, for example, it will inflict the defense down and then kill them, and then the corrupted seed will happen after the kill, after the skill. So they won't get the auto detonation. The same is true for the S1, where the infliction of the corrupted seed, if they don't have a corrupted seed, the infliction will only happen after the skill is over, and an enemy dies during the skill. That is the best that I can interpret it. So you might not want to kill with Embla, you might want to leave them alive. It's pretty weird that it punishes you for killing them, but you know what, if they're dead, they're already dead. So like, I guess that's something. Same with the S3. the buff stealing will happen during the skill, but the infecting of another enemy also happens after the skill ends, which is after the kill. So, sorry, skill kill, lots of words. But yeah, if you use the S2 and you kill someone with the corrupted seed, the corrupted seed will still auto-detonate as usual, but you will not get the additional infect another enemy with corrupted seed. I'll try to put footage here on the side in order to help visualize that, but it's something to take note of because it means that you cannot land finishing blows with Embla if you want that auto-detonation to happen, which is kind of sad. So in terms of her resonances, is she needed at R2? We're gonna see. So Tired Sword, final damage, plus 10, which is actually really good considering most other skills because of the pursuit attacks. So she will actually pursue it, and if you build her with Avatara, Claymore, if you build her with Claymore, she might pursuit attack, which is really good. So this damage is really solid actually. Alright, so our R2, the auto detonation of the corrupted seed also damages targets other than the carrier, which is 150 of the caster's attack. Now the reason why this is really good is because this allows for the so-called chain detonation. I'm gonna show this on screen for a bit, but basically what will happen is you kill them, the corrupted seed will spread, and then if the corrupted seed spread and then that person also dies, then the corrupted seed will spread, and it's just like a chain reaction. It's like a chain explosion basically. So this R2 is really, really good, especially for those speed clearing of like different content that require like Cube Miracle or Infinity Miracle, where there are like lots of different like 5 enemies or whatever, and you just focus down the one. It will deal tons of damage to everyone else, which is really, really solid and really, really good. She will still function, in my opinion, by herself and boss content like Sentinel Hunt or Apep, even at R0, because in those boss contents you won't really be, you know, flashing those ads for the R2 to take effect that much. So R0 is perfectly fine. Basin and elemental advantage. Alright, so her R6. I'm kind of a bit conflicted about this. Well, it's just a small thing, right? But obviously it's really good that the max stacks are reduced because you get the auto detonation much faster, much quicker, and then that R2 will explode to everyone else, and then you can also start building up a new corrupted seed. So there's no doubt that this is a really, really, really good thing. My only problem with it is the fact that since you gain the corrupted seed less, in boss content, it might actually be a bit detrimental for the main purpose that you will get less of the disease chance and you will get less of the removing dispel debuffs when the corrupted seed is on. It's just a small thing that I want to take note of, but for the damage department and for the AP department, it's obviously really, really good. It's just something to take note of because you're losing a bit of her kit and making her a bit more of a damage dealer, which is perfectly fine. It's kind of just something to talk about. Obviously, this is a really, really good, and if you have her at R6, she's gonna deal tons and tons of damage, so no complaints there. Now that we are done with Embla's skills and discussing, okay, how she works and all the nuances to it, we're now gonna look at the content which she excels at, and we're gonna go through this one by one. So let's start here from the right. Point War and other PvP content. Now, when it comes to PvP content, she isn't really that good because the only thing that's good in Point War right now are tanky espers, controlling espers, healers, and basically people who can do crazy one-shot, where's my hand? Who can do crazy one-shot quickly. And Embla doesn't really do that. She's a type of esper that builds up over time, and that doesn't really work in PvP right now because you really want to get the kill quickly or last until the healing is 0 basically. And so Embla doesn't really last that long. So when it comes to PvP content, RTA, Hollow Battle, she might not be that good. Maybe in Hollow Battle when the enemy only has 3 espers and you can cater around it, she might be decent. But in something like Point War, she's not going to be useful at all. I don't think she's going to be that good. Her damage when someone gets cleansed, the AP up, it's not really all that useful. So I don't think she's gonna be a carry esper in PvP. You can definitely make her work, I think, but she's not gonna be that good. And so for PvP, she's not that good, basically. Now, when it comes to these miracle adventures, I will have to say that she is very, very excellent. Calamity Tower is a slow kind of, when you get to the higher levels, you kind of just want that ability to end the waves very quickly because there's a turn timer. So she'll be really good there because she scales up over time. She does tons of damage if the setup allows for it. And Calamity Tower, it can definitely set up allow for it. In Infinity Miracle, I don't know if you guys have seen Daddy Free to Play's video, but the chain detonation is really, really powerful. And so it's the same thing. Embla is really good when it comes to these floors that allow for 5v5 against PvE type of units. She can scale, she can do the damage, she has all the time for the setup, and so she will excel in all of these really content, and she's probably going to be a very good DPS because the infection allows for your support units to also do a lot of damage. It's the reason why Jiangman is actually really good in the miracles, because her damage is scaled upon also your supports being able to add into the damage, which is really, really powerful. So Embla's not gonna lie, an S tier, SS tier character for these different contents. Now for the Dislyte lands, much like Yun Chuan, Embla's not gonna be that useful at all because the bosses cannot be affected by any sort of debuffs, so her Corrupted Seed is pretty much useless, not gonna be useful at all. Kinda sucks, but it is what it is. That's pretty much all you have to say for when it comes to Dislyte lands, honestly. When it comes to Sentinel Hunt, she is actually really, really good. I'm gonna try to put some background footage here of GG Easy's Sentinel Hunt game, but holy cow, she's really, really good. First of all, Sentinel Hunt is a long-lasting. Lots of people will attack the boss, and so you will get the Corrupted Seed to detonate so much. And the bleeds are actually really, really useful because you don't want the towers to be removing debuffs that are actually useful. So the bleeds are actually really good red herrings to be able to take over the buff removal. And so Embla's really, really good. Embla has the debuff removal as well, the disease, which might be useful. She has the defense down, which is always really nice. And overall, Embla does tons of damage. I forgot to mention this a while ago, but her multipliers on her skills are actually really, really good. They're all over like 200 or whatever, 100, 130, whatever. So she does tons of damage, which is on par with like higher DPS units. So I think that Embla is really, really good for Sentinel Hunt. And honestly, I love Sentinel Hunt, so I might actually get her specifically just because she's really good in Sentinel Hunt. Not gonna lie. So when it comes to our girl, the hardest ritual miracle boss, Apep, she is very good. There's no doubt about it that Embla's kit is kind of made exactly for Apep, with the disease, with the damage. Yeah, she's really, really good. Adding that disease and adding that debuff removal for her team is something that's obviously meant to counter Apep. But what are my problems with her? My problem is the fact that she is kind of inconsistent. Her kit requires some additional help because her disease is only a 50% chance to proc by anyone attacking. So the chances of it actually hitting are kind of low, and you really need that disease or else Apep will heal. And you kind of need to speed tune her because you can't have her going last and then Apep will go attack. You might miss the disease. So she does need some additional help. And from what I've seen, people still will use Joser for the disease slot, and the disease slot that Embla is filling isn't really for the disease, it's more for the damage, which is perfectly fair and respectable, but I have to announce that she does have that inconsistent issues, so you really need to be aware of that. Her damage is insane, but you really just cannot rely on her alone to clear up the poison debuffs, because she will just clear debuffs as they're happening, but she will not be able to clear all of them by herself because it requires your team to attack. So you still need that additional help in the form of Clara, in the form of Jinyu Yao. You'll need that additional healing and protection, which is obvious, but she's not gonna solo carry, which is something that needs to be said. I will say that she has a ton of potential because her kit is so loaded, she has so much damage, she has so much utility, she has a lot of potential for speed cleaving the boss, which is really nice. If you can speed tune her and build her properly and your team properly to clear the boss in such a certain way, she has a lot of potential because her kit's just so loaded, right? So she has the potential for like the leaderboards and for the ultimate spire. So that is something that you have to take into account with how good she is. And yeah, she just does a ton of damage, but at the same time, she does multi-hits, which might not be the best against Apep because that might trigger her counter-attacks more often. So just because of that, you might be more inclined to use someone else like Sander or like Stewart for the damage department. It's hard to say, but at the very least, she is not useless. She definitely has a place, but I think that place is something that's very difficult to unlock just because of, well, she has so much factors that go into making her good or bad in Apep. She's kind of a miss. She's definitely good, okay? I'm not saying that she's bad by any means, especially compared to some other espers. But I'm saying that she might not also be the best. She might not be the insta slot in for the hero, which is kind of sad because, you know, you're investing into her and you might not always use her. You might use her someone else like Sander, Drew, Joser, Stewart over her. So it's something to take into account, because if you can get away with not getting her, right, why bother if they're like 4-star or 3-star espers that you can more easily build that are more useful, right? So it's just something to take into account. So now that all of that is over, which is so long, I'm very sorry, but let's go into her pros and cons. And I'm gonna go on her cons first. What's so bad about her, basically? What's not good about Embla and why you would not summon her? Basically, the first thing is she's very inconsistent, in my opinion. Her skills, this has an 80%, but at base it's 60% chance, and then obviously the disease has a 50% chance to land per each attack. So a lot of her kit, if you want to use her for specific things, is kind of inconsistent. If you want to use her for speed cleaving, her 80% defense is something that you have to take into account, and then the disease chance is pretty off. And then the fact that all of her skills can miss because of the corrupted seed still applies to crit chances and to miss checks and accuracy checks. You have to take all that into account on the fact that she just might miss. She might just be inconsistent, which kind of sucks. Another thing is that she multi-hits. So a lot of her skills will multi-hit or deal multiple instances of damage, which might not be good for Apep, because that means they're going to be cycling Apep's counterattacks more often, which might not be good. Another thing is her clunky turn order and rotations, because if you kill with the S3 and suddenly Embla's AI will use S2, but there's no one with corrupted seed, which is really, really bad. And so there's just all those type of small things. Or maybe you want to use the S3 and not kill, and then you want to use the S1, but it'll still use the S2 for some reason. Maybe you don't want to do that. So there's like all these small things that add up, and you might need to use her manually in order to get her full value. Her AI might not be the best, so using her on auto might just not be the best thing about her. I'm just saying, it's something. And again, as I mentioned a while ago, her R6 might be detrimental because she will use less of her utility and just become more of a damage dealer. Her damage is obviously really, really powerful and really, really potent, but you will not be using that Dispel debuff or that disease that often anymore, because her R6 just makes her cycle more often, which is something that it's like a trade. It's not a increase in strength, it's a trade-off, which is, I don't know why there's a trade-off. Why give more disease chance or something, or give more debuff dispel, that way the R6 is purely a buff, but it might not be. So it's something to take into account. She's not that good in PvP. A lot of people thought that she might be, but I don't think that she is. And yeah, it's something to take note of. She might be good if this tanky meta changes, but the way it currently is, the tanky meta is just too strong for even Embla, which, I mean, that might just be a problem with like the current meta rather than Embla. So just something to note there. And another thing is, Embla is really, really, really hard to build, okay? She is not a solo carry. You really need a team built of multi-hitters, built of certain espers in order to take advantage of her corrupted seed. So you can't just pop her into a team and expect her to carry. You need to build around her. You need to have the right espers. You really need to have the right turn order. There's lots of things. So she's not an easy to use character like Gaius, for example. Gaius can just plop into a team and he'll do great. Embla requires that sort of team capacity and that team carry. So she's not a solo carry, but that also makes her really, really powerful, because when you have a team built around her, she does tons of damage. Now, again, onto her pros. Now, when it comes to her pros, I know I just dissed on her with like so many cons and stuff, but I will say, at the very least, Embla is, in my opinion, like an A-tier esper, one of the top espers. She's definitely better than some of the previous releases that we've had. She's a good esper, no doubt. She is 100% like an A-tier. I might even call her an S-tier if it's only damage dealers. Supports in this game are just absolutely broken. So, but she's really, really good. Definitely an A-tier esper. She has very good damage. I've been saying this. Her corrupted seed just does tons of damage, and even her skills at base also do a ton of damage. 110, 130 times 2, 100, 120 with the pursuit attacks. She does a ton of damage, which is really, really nice. and she scales over time. The Corrupted Seed is something that does a ton of damage over time, and so the longer the fight scales, the more damage she will do in comparison to some other units who will do a ton of burst damage at the beginning, and it will kind of fall off because their skills either take too long to rotate or they just don't live that long. But Embla gets her damage even if she herself is not doing that much damage. Her team can do that damage for her, and she also has that ability to do the damage herself, which is really, really nice. Usually espers that have like a ton of text, even if they're annoying to read, are really, really good. Like for example, Ashley, who has like a ton of text, is one of the best espers because of how good her golden rim is, how good her rainbow bridge is. And I think Embla is the same. This kit is really, really loaded, but it does a ton and provides her with a lot of utility and a lot of coverage in different matchups that I think that she's really, really good for most scenarios. She also has really, really nice potential when it comes to speed clearing or clearing the dungeons fast with her chain explosions at R2. And even without it, she just does a ton of damage. Her max stack detonation is also really, really nice. So the damage that she does is a lot, and she can just carry basically if built right or with a good team. And lastly, I think the most important thing that you have to consider if you want to summon her is the fact that, yeah, she looks great. Alright, so that was a very long and convoluted video that took a really, really long time for me to think about and make. And overall, the question just stands. Should you summon for Embla or not? Is she good enough for you? And I'll say, yeah, you should summon for Embla, in my opinion. She's really good. In fact, I'm gonna summon for Embla. I don't have that much wish stones, but I'm gonna do it. So, yeah, this is me putting my money where my mouth is. What? My mouth where my money is? Wait, what? I have no idea. Where's my money? Where's my mouth? I'm just gonna summon for her because I think that she's good enough. And at the end of it all, I think that she's a really, really good esper. Fun esper to build. I think you'll learn a lot from using her. I think that she's really, really awesome. Her design looks great. Her kit is useful. There's just a ton of things. I know that I listed down a ton of problems for her, but she's great. And yeah, I'm gonna summon for her. Bam. Look at that. Let's freaking go. I now have Embla. Ding. Look at that. Look at her. She's beautiful. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This is gonna be like a 20-30 minute video, I think. But I hope that helps someone. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Please comment down below if this was helpful. If you guys have anything to add, if you guys thought I missed anything, do let me know. And if you want to see Embla, tell me if you want to see a guide. But honestly, tons of content creators have done very exceptional content showcasing her. And I'm gonna put some links that I've used for the references down below or in the description, whatever. Anyway, with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. And I hope that you guys get Embla and enjoy her. That sounds wrong. Anyway, bye-bye.